Hello students, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video lecture, we are going to solve the next 10 questions from ILS chapter in Keith Williams Radio Navigation book. So far we have answered the first 80 questions from this chapter. I hope you have watched my previous video lectures and now you are comfortable answering questions related to ILS. Let's start with today's new questions. Question number 82. Question number 81 was covered in the previous video lecture. Okay, so do watch that if you haven't yet. Question 82. If ILS outer marker modulation frequency is what? The ILS outer marker modulation frequency is what? So here they are talking about the modulation frequency. So all the marker beacons transmit on one fixed carrier frequency, which is 75 megahertz. Okay, one fixed carrier frequency, that is 75 megahertz, and this frequency falls in the VHF band, very high frequency band. Now this main 75 megahertz frequency is further amplitude modulated differently for three different marker beacons. It is differently modulated for the outer marker beacon, then for middle marker beacon, and differently for the inner marker beacon. So the outer marker beacon is modulated at 400 hertz. Okay, the middle marker is modulated at 1300 hertz, and the inner marker is modulated at 3000 hertz. Okay, so you must remember this amplitude modulation frequencies of each of these marker beacons. Apart from that, remember the colors blue, amber, white. Remember the distances 6.5 to 11 kilometer for outer marker, 1 kilometer, approximately 1 kilometer for the middle marker, and 75 to 450 meter for the inner marker. Next, remember the identifications. For outer marker, it is 2 dashes per second. For middle marker, it is alternate dots and dashes 3 per second. And for the inner marker, it is 6 dots per second. Next, answer this. The ILS outer marker modulation frequency is, so modulation frequency is 400 Hz. If they ask you the transmission frequency, then the answer would be 75 megahertz. So read the question carefully. Next, on finals on an ILS approach, okay, you are on finals. You're flying overhead the outer marker. Okay, just you're flying above the outer marker. You can expect to be at 4 miles from the threshold, 25 miles from the threshold, 10 miles from the threshold, 1 nautical mile from the threshold. So, over here, the outer marker is 6.5 to 11 kilometers from the runway. Kilometers. Now, 6.5 kilometer will be equal to how many nautical miles? 6.5 divided by 1.85. That equals to 3.5 nautical miles, right? So, 3.5 nautical miles to 11 kilometer will be equal to 11 divided by 1.85, which is 6 nautical miles. So 6.5 to 11.1 kilometer is equal to 3.5 nautical mile to 6 nautical miles. So 3.5 nautical miles to 6 nautical miles. So the correct answer here will be option A. 4 nautical mile is 4 nautical mile falls between 3.5 miles and 6 miles. So correct answer is option A. When you are overhead the outer marker, you are approximately 4 miles from the runway, meaning and vertically you will expect yourself to be at 4 into 3, 300, that is 1200 feet something. Provided the glide slope is 3 degrees. Okay. Next, the basic principle of operation of the ILS is the difference in depth modulation. So the principle of operation of ILS is called difference in depth modulation. For VOR, it is phase comparison between the two lobes. Now, if aircraft strays, that means deviates right hand side, the higher tone lobe will be received at a higher intensity than the lower tone lobe. A DDM or difference in depth modulation of 0 indicates exact runway centerline. The depth of modulation increases away from the center line. A depth of modulation 0 indicates a balance between modulations. So now let's look at the localizer first. Your localizer antenna is located on the opposite end of the approach end of the runway. Meaning, you are approaching the runway from this direction. So the localizer aerial for this particular runway, okay, runway 17, will be situated on the opposite end, on near runway 01. Okay, so okay, and this localizer operates in the VHF band between 108 megahertz to 112 megahertz. All frequencies have odd decimals, right? This is the next important point. And this frequency is amplitude modulated. We have two lobes, 90 hertz left hand side, 150 hertz right hand side. Now the region, now the place where these two lobes overlap or interact is the extended center line of your runway. Okay, is the extended center line of your runway. Okay, the common line between 90 hertz, or in the common line between, or in the middle of 90 hertz lobe and 150 hertz lobe. Now when your aircraft is flying right on this extended center line of the runway, let's say over here, okay, it's on the center line, extended imaginary center line of the runway in the atmosphere. This aircraft will receive both the signals, both 90 hertz and 150 hertz signals equally. Okay, it will receive both the amplitude modulation signals equally. We call this depth of modulation equal to 0. That means the difference between both the modulations is equal to 0. It is receiving both the modulations at equally. Okay. Now let's say this aircraft deviates to the left hand side, left of the center line somewhere here. In this condition or in this scenario, this aircraft will receive more of 90 hertz signal and less of 150 hertz signal. Okay. In this case, we will say the difference in depth modulation is not equal to 0 because it is receiving surplus of 90 hertz and a deficit of 150 hertz signal. This difference in depth modulation will go on increasing as your aircraft deviates farther and farther away from the center line of this localizer, extended center line of the runway. Similarly, if your aircraft deviates to the right hand side of the center line somewhere here, again the difference in depth modulation will not be equal to 0. This difference, this error margin will go on increasing as your aircraft deviates away from the center line of the runway. Okay, so same concept applies to your glide slope. Now your glide slope antenna is located on the right hand side of the runway somewhere here. 300-meter down from the threshold, 200-meter to the right hand side. Okay, this localizer aerial is situated 300-meter away from this end of the runway. Okay, now similarly, this glide slope operates in the frequency band of UHF starting from 328 megahertz up to 335 or 336 megahertz. Okay, now the region, the place where both these signals, 90 hertz and 150 hertz signals overlap, coincide, share the same area, will be your glide slope. Will be your glide slope. 3 degree, 4 degree, whatever. Now, when you're actually flying in this overlapping region of 90 hertz and 150 hertz signal, you are nothing but flying on this glide slope down to the runway. Okay, let's say you deviate from this glide slope, you go above the you deviate above the glide slope somewhere here. In this case, your aircraft will receive more of 90 hertz signal and less of 150 hertz signal. Okay, so the CDI indications will be to fly down. Why fly down? Because the correct glide slope is below your aircraft height. That's why you will get a fly down indication from the CDI. Let's say your aircraft deviates below the glide slope somewhere here. Now, in this scenario, your aircraft will receive more of 150 hertz signals and less of 90 hertz signals. So, the CDI will give you a solution, as in to fly up. Okay, fly up because the glide slope is above you. So, fly up, capture that glide slope, and then continue maintaining that glide slope down to the runway. So again, over here, the principle of operation is difference in depth modulation. When you are correctly positioned on the glide slope, the difference in depth modulation is 0. When you deviate or separate away from it, the difference in depth modulation will increase linearly. Okay. So correct answer is a difference in depth modulation of 0 indicates exact runway center line, yes. The depth of modulation increases away from the center line, yes. A depth of modulation 0 indicates a balance between the two modulations, yes. So statements 2, 3 and 4 are correct. That aircraft stays right, the higher tone lobe will be received at a higher intensity than the lower tone lobe. It's nothing like that. Uh, okay, so statement 1 is wrong. Next. The basic principle of operation of the ILS is the difference in depth of modulation between the 90 Hz and 150 Hz lobes. A difference in depth modulation of 0 indicates so higher tone lobe is received at a higher strength than the lower tone lobe. The exact runway center line, yes. Aircraft is on the glide path, yes. A balance between modulations, yes. So 2, 3 and 4. So statement or option number D is the right one. Next. Which of the following list uses the VHF band? Locator, yes. Your compass locators are nothing but substitutes or replacements for outer marker. These compass locators will enable your aircraft to fly an inbound course towards the localizer, towards the airport. And all these locators, which are nothing but NDB beacons, are operating in the frequency of low frequency and medium frequency. Localizer operates in the VHF band or decimals 108 megahertz से लेके 112 megahertz. Outer marker again VHF band 75 megahertz. Amplitude modulated 400 hertz. Glide path UHF band 328 megahertz से लेके 335 336 megahertz. So the combination that regroups all the correct statements is statement number 2 and statement number 3. So option alpha. Okay, they are talking next. The audio frequency modulation. Okay, they are talking about the modulation of the middle marker, another keyword, shall be keyed as follows. So the middle marker uh, identification is alternate dots and dashes 3 per second. Okay, alternate dots and dashes 3 per second. Outer marker is continuous dashes 2 per second, and inner marker is continuous dots which are 6 per second, So for middle marker, it is a continuous series of alternate dots and dashes. The dashes speed at a rate of 2 dashes per second, dots speed at a rate of 6 dots per second, no. 2 dashes per second, no, that is for outer marker. 3 dashes, 3 dots, 3 dashes per second, yes. Alternate dots and dashes transmitted 3 every second. So Charlie is the right one, delta is wrong. The localizer transmitters operate in a frequency band of VHF beginning from 108 megahertz up to 112, that is 111.975, because localizer has all frequencies which have odd decimals allotted to them. VOR frequencies have even decimals. The ones with even decimals will be allotted to VOR. Okay, so odd decimals. Now VOR has a frequency band starting from 108 megahertz से लेके 118 और 117.975 megahertz, ठीक है. उसमें से frequencies beginning from 108 to 112 megahertz are shared with ILS localizer. Okay, so ILS localizer will have odd decimal के frequencies. VOR will have even decimal वाले frequencies. So remember that. ILS inner marker modulation frequency. So outer marker 400 Hz modulated, middle marker 1300 Hz, and inner marker is 3000 Hz modulation. So option alpha. According to ICAO Annexure 10, a locator has a range of what? A locator, a compass locator. Okay, so it has a range between 10 nautical mile to 25 nautical mile, a small range of 10 to 25 nautical miles. So this concludes our lecture. I hope you have understood all the 9 questions I have answered in this video lecture. If you have any doubts, questions, let me know in the comment box. I will definitely reach out to you all. And I request you all to share this channel with your friends. Let them know about it. Hit the like button if you have liked this lecture, and uh, subscribe if you haven't yet. Thank you.